Alright, hey guys, I am David for Big Bits, and in this video we're going to take a look at a new indicator, well, new strategy that I'm going to be putting out soon, completely open source, free to everybody, and that is the Fancy Bollinger Bands Strategy. And this is just exactly like the Fancy Bollinger Bands, except we're going to have a bunch of more settings so that you can automatically apply a strategy. Now I have a strategy set up here to go long whenever the price crosses over the mid band and only close when the price closes below the bottom band or you hit a 75% take profit. And I think there's also a stop loss, but you can see it works out pretty good since 2018, which is when it started. There's a little bit of work that we're going to be doing here on this particular strategy, and yes, we're finally going to be getting back into doing a little bit more development on the channel and showing you how to put into use some of these new features. One of the things that we really need to do with this particular script is we need to update it to be able to use the new date and time input so that we don't have to have so many different options. There's already going to be a ton of them in there. We might even be able to use arrays to improve upon what we have, but I'm not entirely sure that is the best solution for the things that I'm thinking about doing here. So even though that we do have arrays now, this might not be the best solution for what I think needs to happen with this particular script. But overall, this is a pretty interesting script. Of course, this is the Bitcoin chart here on the daily with the Bollinger Bands, and everything looks pretty good. You have a 397% return, which, I mean, if you were in Bitcoin during this time, you probably could have got that without having to trade daily. Just by buying the lows, you probably could have gotten, let's see, it went down to 4,000. Let's just say you bought $5,000 to $6,000. You're already making 5 to 6 times that. So with Bitcoin, maybe this isn't a good strategy, even though it's a lot of percent and it's maybe a little bit safer. I'm just going to throw this one out there. This one might work better on smaller time frames if you're going to be trading something like that. But when it comes to Bitcoin, obviously, if you would have just bought the lows or even anywhere close to the lows, it would have been a really good investment. So you probably wouldn't even need a strategy. But we're going to be working on this one mainly just for the fact that it is friendly and it's a nice little add-on to the initial indicator. And we get to use it to practice on some of the things that we're going to be working on and some of the new features as well. Okay, now that we've talked about the strategy that we're going to be publishing here very soon, you should probably go ahead and follow on TradingView. That way that you can see when these things happen. There is a link to my profile on TradingView. You can just follow me on TradingView. And you should get a notification when there is an update or a new script published from my account. You'll see that. Hopefully, we'll be doing this a lot more here as the year moves on. I've only got one class this semester that I'm teaching, so my schedule's a little bit lighter than it was last time. So hopefully we'll be able to do more. Just follow the account on TradingView and you'll be able to see this. Now, I did want to get into a little bit of technical analysis. It's been a long time since I've been able to do just TA videos. I want to get back into doing these more, so hopefully we can actually go ahead and start doing that. But let me switch over to my ideas chart. We'll have to get rid of our script section down here. Also get rid of this part. Okay. So I've kind of been watching these on the 4-hour chart. And we'll come back to the 4-hour chart. Let's go ahead and start at the 1-day chart on Bitcoin and also Ethereum. Now, while Ethereum has done really well the last few days, I can see things slowing down where they are. It was kind of interesting that it broke the all-time highs and didn't just completely melt up towards around 1800 or so. The fact that it came back down from that is a little discouraging. It might take a little while, but I do believe, and I believe pretty much everybody believes, that Ethereum will reach new highs this year. As to what those are, I can hardly imagine what the top could be. A lot of people are throwing out 20,000 as it would kind of correlate with Bitcoin in its last cycle. I'm probably going to be a little bit more conservative and say $6,000 to $7,000. I really don't have much of a reason for that other than it just seems like a lot considering the economy of Ethereum and just kind of how that blockchain protocol is set up, how the rewards come in and how these things are done. Although I do believe a lot of people are recognizing the Ethereum 2.0 potential, what is going to be capable of happening once we can move into a Ethereum 2.0 world where we have tons of transactions and things. So I can definitely see 20,000, but I think that's a little bit too optimistic because I think Ethereum 2.0 is a little bit too far off. And of course, it's not proven. So even though we do have the contract address to deposit to move to Ethereum 2, it's still a ways over before we actually get there. And it's going to be a long time until the mining is actually shut off. I believe I read an article, it was around 2022, maybe at the end of it, towards the beginning of 2023 even, that there will still be mining done on the Ethereum network. So still quite a while on that. Now, as we dig into this a little bit more, I did mention, just kind of talk a little bit about the price action. I'm going to get beyond the price action now and go ahead and take a look at the indicators themselves. You can't really see the Ethereum one over here, so let me, and I forgot, I actually need to go back to a single chart here. Zoom out. Don't like the way that looks. Let's pull up the ideas here like we had just a moment ago. That'll help just a little bit, I believe. Zoom in. All right, so that's Bitcoin. We need to pull up Ethereum. And if you've been following me on Twitter, you'll know that I made another suggestion to TradingView here that I would like for them to add in some sort of way for us to know when the data feed started per symbol, because you have all of these FUSD symbols, but a lot of the times people want to see the oldest data when they're doing their long-term analysis. And certain exchanges like Coinbase probably have a longer data history than others, especially new exchanges that just get added here in the last year or so. So that's something I'm looking forward to as well. But let's go ahead and pull up Ethereum on Coinbase, which is one I typically look at. The bands looked really good yesterday. Let's go ahead and hide those. The bands on Ethereum looked really good yesterday. It looked like things were going to continue moving up, but then you had the huge drop during the day today. Hopefully, this is just temporary and things will continue on because there is a lot of room, considering you broke the all-time highs on Ethereum, to move upward. The daily chart, though, is not telling me a whole lot. We go down to the stochastic weights. This is very neutral. A lot of times this can also mean that there is a bearish divergence, particularly when you were just very overbought. That is above 90 on the stochastic weights advanced. And look, you were very overbought on your RSI as well. And our last one down here is the MACD, which in order for this thing to continue moving up, prices really got to shoot up. And that pretty much holds true for everything else that we're looking at. In order for these indicators to keep moving upward, the price really has to shoot up and continue to move up. It seems likely that we should have a pullback. And I did mention in my last video where we talked about TA that it looked like 28 to 30,000 was a good target on Bitcoin to look for a bearish divergence. But I told you I would never short that just because you have no idea how far it could actually go. It ended up going to $42,000. So definitely you need to wait for the dips. The $30,000 dip was good. The what was this? The $900 dip on Ethereum was pretty good. Hopefully we'll get some more of those, and most likely we'll come back and we'll test some of these other moving averages, such as the 50, 100, or the 200 as well here in the coming weeks. It feels like the last few months have been nothing but green. Seems like February, March, we're probably going to have a red month in there, and we'll see just how strong some of the hands are some of these new folks coming in after the all-time highs. But I did want to zoom in into the 4-hour on Ethereum. I think this one looks a little bit better when you look at it on the shorter term. So maybe we won't be coming down that low yet. But we do have our moving averages correlating again in that super kind of trend that you're looking for, where you have the 20 above the 50, above the 10, above the 200. It all looks really nice. This is a good sign for a continued move. Typically when it does this, it continues on for at least a little while. You can see it came down here. We lost that. It came right back. So the short term on Ethereum, I think it looks pretty decent for the next coming days. If we can get back above the all-time highs, there's really no telling how high it goes. So I'm definitely not looking to really take a position on Ethereum right now. I've gotten plenty over the last couple of years, but let's go back and let's look at the daily chart. The reason why I'm fairly neutral is just because this potential bearish divergence here, and by the time this video goes out, we might know whether or not this is actually going to play out. But again, just kind of like Bitcoin a few weeks ago when I said that, there is a potential bearish divergence here, the price is going to have to shoot up crazy high in order to invalidate the bearish divergence. Well, on Bitcoin, the price shot up crazy high. It went up another 14,000 from the time I made that video. Ethereum can do something similar percentage-wise and completely invalidate a potential bearish divergence on all of these indicators, essentially. So it's just something to keep an eye on. There is definitely that potential, just like there was with Bitcoin. I don't want to take a position. I've already built one low enough. I wouldn't consider shorting even if I could, just because I think the market can be irrational right now, and that things can continue to go on, especially considering Ethereum just broke the all-time highs. So let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin now. A little bit different. So with Bitcoin, we are now trading below the daily Bollinger Band. Now this could be somewhat important. It's kind of similar to around back here. You'll notice this was kind of the initial dip. Zoom in. This was the initial dip in our previous stop at the all-time highs. We kind of had that initial dip there, came back up, kind of came back down, traded a little bit below. The bands aren't quite as tight, so it's not entirely the same kind of situation. Again, a lot of this comes down to how things do today. The other indicators down here are very similar, although the RSI hasn't trended back upward. So you wouldn't think that there would be a divergence to build here just yet on Bitcoin. But the MACD being so far below there, it's hard to see things coming up. But I think with the Bollinger Bands moving up like this, that the downside is a little bit limited in the meantime, and that if there is some sort of fall in price, it's going to be kind of held up by these Bollinger Bands, because even if it goes straight down to here today, that Bollinger Band is probably going to continue upward for the most part into tomorrow and a little bit beyond, because remember, the Bollinger Bands kind of rely on the range of price over the last period. So just keep that in mind. The range goes from down here to all the way up here. It seems to be tightening. Even if the price drops down to the bottom band, it should continue to move up on the bottom. So that's just something to keep in mind as far as looking at your potential downside there. Ideally, if you're looking for a large crash, you'll want something where the bands kind of tighten like this for a little bit. It's retested some averages down here, and then it kind of starts falling down and riding those bands down, similar to how it's going to be riding these bands up. But who knows if that's going to happen. Okay, we are definitely in a bull cycle right now. There's definitely no way to look at this and say that the bull cycle is over and that was the bubble crashing there. Just for perspective, for those of you all who weren't around in 2017, take a look at the chart there. Zoom in. Over a course of a few days, went from 20,000 down to 10,000. A 50% drop in price over the course of a few days. Pretty massive. Here you went from 42 to 30, which is a fairly normal pullback. Let's see, what was that, 25 to 30%? I've got to have a ruler here somewhere, right? You guys know I haven't been using TradingView as much as I should when I can't even remember where the tools are that we need. Oh, of course, it's right there. This is definitely just going to be kind of approximate. I see down about 28 to 30%. absolutely nothing doesn't mean we're near the end of the bull market whatsoever. Take a step back out to the weekly, and we have to hide the Bollinger Bands because, well, actually, let's zoom in and take a look at it. Currently, you can see we've had this huge dip in the Bollinger Bands, and then it's dipped right back up, or came right back up, and you got this kind of twin peaks kind of thing happening here on the stochastic advanced. So usually when that happens, there's going to be a general pullback for a short period of time at least. So that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of hesitant on a Bitcoin here as far as continuing long here. And I think the 28% might have been temporary. We might be pulling back more, maybe anywhere from 30 to 40%. I'd say would be possible. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum on the weekly as well. So this is very similar to the Bitcoin chart. See that the Bollinger Bands on the weekly have even went negative on Ethereum, which is just a sign that there is a huge move that's happened. Although, as we've been pointing out on this channel for a while, that Ethereum, its chart has kind of lagged behind Bitcoin, and you can definitely see this on the weekly chart. You don't have that kind of twin peak type deal here on your stochastic weights advance. I mean, it kind of wanted to here. It kind of wanted to come back down, and then it came back up. But it never crossed back down, and it's just now entering the very overbought territory. So we'll see how things react. But like I said, when we were dealing with this with Bitcoin, there's no telling how far the price could go up and completely invalidate potential bearish setups, even if they're for the short term. So definitely not a market I'm even going to look at to consider a short in right now, just because this is the very beginning of 2021. I would like to think that there's a lot more room to grow in the cycle for both of these, especially Ethereum. I would like to think that it's going to go well above its previous all-time highs instead of just a few bucks. So just trying to keep things in perspective there. One of the other things I wanted to look at was the Bitcoin dominance. I think it's Bitcoin.D. There we go. This is Bitcoin dominance. Excuse me. So Bitcoin dominance actually looks bullish. And that's kind of interesting because you have a lot of people calling for an alt season right now. DataDash, he basically said the alt season has begun, and it's been a nice couple of days here, or a couple of weeks here for alts. But if Bitcoin is going to remain bullish versus alts, now would kind of be the time. You have this convergence of these moving averages. And I think the huge alt season is probably not quite here. I mean, again, this is a weekly chart. Bitcoin dominance is around 65%. If you're looking at this from a technical analysis perspective, which a few people probably are, I tend to think Bitcoin dominance doesn't mean a whole lot. But just recognizing trends using it is kind of important. Look, you had that parabolic move upwards with Bitcoin dominance. Is that over? Are we going to get another parabolic move? Could Bitcoin go up to $50, $60, $70,000 and just completely eradicate this former run here and just continue the parabola upwards? It can. One of the things that I'm looking for, I kind of think we can go back up to 83% even if you look at this from a TA perspective. And that could basically mean most of the year would be spent with the Bitcoin dominant market. Now, I definitely don't want that to happen because I've got plenty into my altcoins. But I think right now, you're probably going to see Bitcoin turn around versus those if you're looking at technical analysis. And again, I don't really care to look at technical analysis on the Bitcoin dominance chart. It's more kind of for fun and to get a general idea of trends. I definitely think there's more room to go up with the dominance as opposed to down. I'll go back out to the daily chart. Yeah, we're kind of at an area. We've tested this kind of area of resistance here. It doesn't look super strong. But you can tell. Go back here. I don't usually draw a whole lot. when I do these videos. But got that nice flat top. Now you would have thought that would have been a big deal when it broke through that kind of triangle, but if you were to kind of look at it like this instead, it kind of looks like it could break down in the next few months. Again, I'm not a fan of doing dominance TA. It's definitely just something good to look at for trends, because if we get these on alignment, which we don't have that now, that could be a huge sign. Well, actually, we do have them in alignment right now, except the problem is the 20 is moving down rapidly. It's probably going to cross down again, but will it perform like that and move up in a parabola again? Perhaps. We'll just have to keep an eye on that. But I definitely wouldn't consider looking at the dominance chart unless it got back up to something like 80, something really high that doesn't seem sustainable, especially when you got projects like Ethereum out there. I do want to take a look at UNI as well. This is another one that I have been buying into for quite some time now. I was not involved with using UNI, so I didn't get in on the airdrop, but I did recognize it was a good purchase, and I've been accumulating for some time after it's been selling off. So the move now is not terribly surprising. You could have completely expected this. You can see moving averages look really nice. Everything's well in alignment. UNI just looks really nice, and just how far it goes, of course, nobody knows. This is the weekly chart. There's not much data on it, so really can't look at that. Let's take a look at LINK, though. Actually, let me change this to the Binance Exchange. I think it has more data. It sure does. Again, the LINK chart is very, very nice. And on the weekly, it's showing room to grow. Things are moving up on all indicators, and it looks like there's plenty of room to grow. I don't know where LINK could potentially stop this year during this cycle. I have no clue. I'm kind of rooting for anywhere from $50 to $100. Because if you're going to get another doubling at $20, it's probably going to go around somewhere to $50. If you want it to double again, be around $100. And now, a project like LINK, I really believe in. Will it go that high? If you think of it in the question of could it double twice, yeah, I think it could. Especially when you think about projects like Ethereum that have a huge market cap already. Do you think Ethereum could double? It's currently priced at, $1,400 or so. Do you think Ethereum could be worth $2,800? Do you think it would be worth $5,600? I think pretty much everybody in crypto would say yes. You're going to double your money twice at the current prices if LINK performs as well as Ethereum and Ethereum reaches that target, which I think a lot of people think is very reasonable, 5,600. It's one of my conservative estimates compared to what other people are putting out there, such as 20,000. Let's take a look at LINK versus Ethereum, though. Here's the Binance chart. This one is pretty interesting. This is a weekly chart. You can see it's been very low, but it has been trending up versus Ethereum for a very long time. Now, it is an encouraging signal that there was a huge bounce back here at a key support level here on LINK. That could be a potential bottom area, and of course that drawing tool did not go where I wanted it to for whatever reason. There you go. Try that again. There we go. All right, so let's zoom in. This is the weekly chart. Remember, resistance, now support. It was support for a while. It was support just then. The indicators can kind of point us to potentially being bottomed out. They're very low values. You have a cross back up here on the stochastic weights advanced. It's very low. And on very bullish projects on a weekly chart to get this low on a combined oscillator like this that's heavily weighted. Pretty impressive that it could get that low to begin with. You can see the lowest it's ever been before was back here, and it continued straight up. It's actually a very similar pattern on the stochastic advance, where it kind of went sideways here in this neutral area and dropped down. Perhaps we can be back on a big move versus Ethereum. And if it outgains versus Ethereum, and Ethereum gains huge, you would stand to think that Link would gain even more, right? So it's just something to keep an eye on. This is some of the things that I think about when I look at alts, is essentially how they are going to perform versus the big assets, and how the big assets are going to perform versus the dollar. So to kind of keep things in perspective, do you think there is more room to grow for the altcoin versus Bitcoin or Ethereum? And at the same time, is there room for growth for Ethereum or Bitcoin versus the dollar? Now, if the answer is yes to both of those, that's very bullish. Well, maybe not bullish, but that shows a huge room for potential, in my opinion. And I think that I'm definitely glad to be in on Link and UNI as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the daily chart. Did we even look at the daily versus the dollar? I don't think we did. But this is a very good pattern for a bottom if you're looking for it versus Ethereum. Look at this. We shot up the mid band. Once that was broken, it shot up quick. And then it came back down and it retested the middle band. This could be a bottom. I definitely think it could be a bottom, especially when you look that things were moving down slowly here. And this was some sort of capitulation, it seems, where people were just kind of selling off versus Ethereum. Whereas now we could see people coming back in and things turning around. That's a potential bottom, something that I think you should look at. Now let's take a look at Link versus the dollar on the daily. I don't think we did this. I apologize. I think we just looked at it on the weekly. The chart just looks pretty good. You finally have all the moving averages back in alignment for a bullish trend, for a very bullish trend, I should say. And it has just gotten started. Now, there are some things to look at for potential momentum stoppers, but everything seems fairly good. It's all sort of in bullish territory. Definitely nothing that worries me a whole lot about what's happened recently. In fact, I'm actually really happy to see this, because look at the 200-day moving average. Well supported versus the dollar. Huge wicks below it, or just huge wicks in general, and it held as support. It's just very nice looking chart. Just very nice. See, we didn't even have that back here, but this was coronavirus, so that's kind of hard to compare. But it did recover quickly. It's not been below the 200 moving average a whole lot. So the fact that it even tested it, if it can continue to perform, is very, very good. And that was a pretty good entry. I think I've been buying ever since the huge drop back here. I was afraid to get in when things were kind of going parabolic back there, which I kind of regret, because I'd still have more now than I would have. But I believe I got in a good time, and accumulating during this period was just as well off. But I think that's going to be it for this video. I kind of had to stitch a couple of clips together. I don't normally do clip videos, but there's only two, so it's not that bad. In the first part, we talked about the Fancy Bollinger Bands Strategy. I'm going to be publishing that. You can look for that. It might even already be out, depending on when I get around to editing the video and publishing it. But you can look for that this week, and make sure to follow me on TradingView to see that. Now, you can also use the referral link in the description of the video to sign up with a paid plan. If you pay for a paid plan, you get $30 towards your next upgrade, and so do I. So that works out well. So just to be completely transparent with that, that's kind of cool that things work like that. Then you can also check out some of the other things that we have going on, but mostly important that you check out the TradingView profile and you follow that if you want to see the strategy update on that. And if you have any ideas on things you want to take a look at, just let me know. We're going to be working on a few things here moving forward on the channel. But that's it for this video. If you liked the video, go down below, leave a like, and while you're down there, please go ahead and subscribe. If you've watched this far, congratulations. I'm not sure I could have done that even, so good job, and you'll probably like some of the other videos I make if you've watched this far. But that's going to be it for this video. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.